Hey everybody, it's Vafa here. Welcome back to Game and Laugh. We hope you've been enjoying Final Fantasy month with myself and Vince. Today we are bringing you Final Fantasy X HD Remaster, specifically for the Nintendo Switch. So this is the port that came to Nintendo Switch, I'd say around this time last year. So in celebration of all things Final Fantasy, since the Final Fantasy VII Remake came out this month, we are going to continue on with our Final Fantasy games on Nintendo Switch and PS4. So we've done 7, 8, and 9 so far, and tonight we are doing 10. Is that right, Vince?
That's right, and don't forget 7 Remake, which we just did recently as well.
That's right, we did do the demo.
The video for 9 has popped up. Vaf, you've disappeared from the screen. The video from 9 has popped up. I uploaded it today, so go and check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Now, Final Fantasy X is a bit of a beast. It's the first Final Fantasy game or series in PS2. It's quite a leap forward compared to the previous Final Fantasy. It was the first Final Fantasy with actual voice acting in it, and you'll see that soon. Vath, you're not showing up on FaceTime, dude. Are you there?
Oh, okay. 1 second. I think it's because my good old screen share full screen. There we go. How's that?
Much better, much better.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Yeah, so Vince and I are big collectors. So if you are looking to purchase this game on Nintendo Switch, I would recommend getting either the Japanese or the Southeast Asia / Chinese version of the game. Reason being because
you'll have
those versions of the game have both Final Fantasy X and X-2 on the cartridge physically.
Yeah. You can see it here right now.
European, Australian, or the North American versions are all Final Fantasy X on the card, but then X-2 is a single-use download code, which is a bit annoying.
See,
because if you wanted a digital version, you would have just bought it on the eShop. And in case you're wondering, the Japanese and Chinese version both have full English support. It works off of whatever system language you're using on the Switch. So Vince and I both have the Asian Chinese version of the game.
Yeah, which looks like this basically. And you know,
yeah, exactly.
It's actually interesting. So I looked up as to why the Japanese versions usually have both games or the full games on the card as compared to North American, European, and stuff like that. And apparently it's to do with the eShop. So they don't necessarily have an eShop like we do. I don't know if I'm getting this information wrong. Let us know if we are, but the eShop that they have is limited compared to the eShop that we have, where where we can input codes and stuff like that as well. So yeah, we luckily we were able to secure this copy, and it's got everything in one card. So I will.
You can find these games on eBay. They're reputable sellers selling them. So Vince and I got both 10 and 10-2 HD Remaster, as well as 7 and 8 twin packs from vendors in Asia.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend you do the same if you want to have both games on the cartridge.
It was a bit pricey. I paid about $100 for mine, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, I paid roughly the same for 7 and 8. 10 and 10-2, actually, I got lucky. I found a local seller here in Sydney that was selling it for $50, and he sold to me brand new, so I got lucky on that one.
Dude, I have to admit, when it comes to getting games, you're the luckiest guy I know.
I don't know if it's luck or just persistence. But either way, yeah, you're right. I generally luck out a bit. So we have Nobuo Uematsu, who is the legendary composer of 7 and 8, also scoring Final Fantasy X, with help from some other famous Square composers, including Masashi Hamauzu, who arranged the majority of the tracks in the new Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was just listening to the soundtrack last night on YouTube, and it is brilliant. So if you love Final Fantasy VII, I would recommend jump on YouTube and check out the original soundtrack for the remake. And Vince, since you, correct me if I'm wrong, you got the collector's edition for Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? Didn't it come with a soundtrack selection?
Yeah, it did. I just haven't listened to it yet. It's sitting inside the steelbook.
How many tracks are on it?
I don't know, man. I haven't listened to it. It's just sitting inside my steelbook right now with the rest of the game.
Fair enough.
I was a bit impressed that it came with 2 discs. Look at that, dude. This is the PS3 version of the game. You can totally tell the difference between the PS4 version and the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, dude. Like the Nintendo Switch version has anti-aliasing.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot more crisp than what this is. There seems to be another filter on that one too, which makes these characters a little more color friendly, I should say, as compared to what
Vince. If anybody would know that, it'd be you, because I'm pretty sure you've owned all the Final Fantasy games across like several generations of consoles.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I owned it on the PS. I owned Final Fantasy X on the PS3 before I found out it was coming out on the PS4. I sold that and got the PS4 version. Then when I found out it was coming out here, I eventually bit the bullet and bought it on the Switch.
And you have it on Xbox, don't you?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
All the Xbox
Switch as
versions,
well, so 3 systems. That's still pretty good.
Dude, I mean, all the Xbox versions, they are, from what I've understood, they are a little bit better than the PS4 versions. From what I've understood, right? However, they're all digital, so what's the point? You know?
Fair enough, yeah.
So guys, that was the intro for Final Fantasy X. It's beautiful, you know?
I believe this track is called To Xanarkand on the soundtrack.
Yes.
Which I happen to have on my iPhone.
Dude, I am trying to get into the game, but I can't. I don't know why.
Okay, awesome.
I'm like pressing start. There you go. I'll go to new games so everyone can see what's going on. Standard Spirit Grid, because I don't know the Xbox.
I think I chose standard on mine. But maybe double check them both, because I chose the arranged soundtrack because it's the newer one.
Yeah, I'm happy with that too. Alright, let's get into it. So this again,
Here we go.
The first Final Fantasy X with full voice acting.
I'm about 10 hours into this game and I just haven't touched it yet. One gripe that I do have with the Switch version, as happy as I am to have the Asian version of this game, which is almost impossible to find in Australia, I am upset that they didn't include the game boosters. So for 7 and 8 ports on Nintendo Switch, they've added the special abilities like no random encounters, triple speed, game and battles, as well as like power-up modes, so your guys get really strong and can breeze through battles quickly. And those boosters are available on the Steam version of the game, possibly PS4 as well, I'm not certain. But for one reason or another, I don't know why, they just left it out of the Switch version. Doesn't make much sense. I keep hoping that Square will come to their senses and just add it in as a software patch.
They did that with 9 too, but do you know if
they could easily do it? I mean, they just add a software update, let everybody update it, and add the boosters. Like, it would just, you know, at 33, I don't have time to sit and grind 100 hours for a game anymore. It'd be nice to just kind of go through the story.
Yeah, what's the deal with Final Fantasy XII? Does it have the boosters in it as well, or no?
Good question. That is actually the only one on Switch I do not own yet. I have never owned 12. I would love to find a copy. Not too keen to pay full price for it in store, so I'm hoping I find somebody selling it a little bit cheaper. But yeah, 12 is one that I've never played, and aside from the online ones like Final Fantasy 11 and 14, it's one of the few core Final Fantasy games that I've never played. I've played 1 through 10. I finished almost all of them. I finished 13. I played 15, but I've never played 12.
Listen to my story.
Perfect timing.
This may be our last chance.
I just really like Titus's voice actor. He just has this kind of young, boyish charm, which is really cool. And I think the character is just developed really well. He's just like this friendly, all-around nice guy who's just thrown into this mess of a situation. And his character kind of resonates with me.
I mean, when did this game come out? Do you know?
This game, I want to say 2000 or 2001. Probably 2001. Yeah. I was still I think I was in 8th grade when this game came out.
Sorry, Vav. This looks a little bit more like the PS4 version, so I don't know if they've just left some cutscenes as they are, but this is the kind of colors I was talking about when you look at the PS4 version as compared to the Nintendo Switch version.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's a PS3 version. As we all know, the Switch, as far as computing power, is no match for Xbox One and PS4, so the developers may have had to scale back some things to get this game to run on the Switch. But then again, this is originally a PS2 title, so...
I mean, look at this, Vav. You can actually tell that the quality and the color is radically different to what we just saw, you know? Like,
yeah.
The only difference is it's a lot smoother, so the shading and the character models are a lot smoother. It has a little less detail, from what I can tell, as compared to the PS4 version, so keep that in mind.
Can you sign this? No problem.
See guys, what we've got is in-game sound, in-game voice acting.
Vince, tell me, you've finished Final Fantasy X before or no?
No, I haven't, man. I haven't even gone through the first half hour.
I've gone through about 10 hours of the game. It doesn't seem like the game has an overworld, am I right?
Look, I have no idea.
Because 7, 8, and 9 all do. They're all the PS1 era of Final Fantasy games. So, and I've beaten all of them.
Can I have your autograph?
Of course.
See, the thing about Final Fantasy X is that I have the guide for it, like the official guide for it. They released limited edition guides for Final Fantasy
Oh, if I score a goal.
7 to 10, which is pretty cool. So I ended up getting all of them, and including 7 to 12.
That will mean
I ended up getting all of them. So I was reading the guide to play this game, and I kind of remember where to go to get like potions and stuff when you need them.
Walk in the front row.
I have a digital version of the guide for this game. Might not be the worst idea to pull it out now and try and actually finish this.
Alright, let's try and get out of here.
well, gotta go.
If you can hear the music, this is actually a remix of the original Final Fantasy theme.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so on every Final Fantasy from the beginning, this has been the theme song. It's definitely in 7. But they just kind of remixed it for this scene.
I mean, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Promise.
I don't know who that creepy hooded kid is in the back. I have yet to discover his identity.
10 hours in, you don't know who he is.
Do you know who he is?
No. That's what I'm asking.
Oh.
Like, it's crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea who he is.
But you know what? The cutscenes are a lot crisper as well.
Yeah.
So this is definitely...
It's a bit choppy for me, but I think that's probably just because of the internet connection.
Dude, I actually think it's a sharper version of the PS3 version. If you know what I mean.
Now, the IMAX screen you're playing on, that's HD, right, Vince?
5K, yeah.
Yeah, 5K, so that's more than...
Yeah, but it wouldn't be
More than
outputting
this
it.
resolution.
This is outputting it at 1080p.
This would be outputting at 1080, I believe.
Yeah.
If you were playing the PS4 version, it'd be outputting in 4K, right?
Yeah. It would be upscaling it to 4K. Dude, you know what? To be honest, this is amazing. Like,
It is.
this is so playable.
How cool would it be to live in a city like this?
Yeah, man. 100%.
My dad must have been his biggest fan.
You know what's great about this right now? There's no
What?
social isolation.
That's right.
An hour I says to myself,
Everyone's like,
Looks like everybody in the world of Final Fantasy X is also quarantined.
we sat up talking about Jet all night.
So, Vav, did you hear about the new Nintendo Switch consoles that are apparently
I
coming
did.
out?
So I read on NintendoLife.com this morning that some people
Coming for
dug into the coding for the new, as everybody knows, Switch had an OS update released, I think in the last 24, 48 hours, OS 10, 10.0, and I guess some coders dug into the actual code and found mention of a few new SKUs for Nintendo Switch. Now, what that means, who knows? We already know in January of this year, CEO of Nintendo Shuntaro Furukawa already confirmed that there will be no new hardware this year. So either they're going to break from what the CEO said, which is unlikely, or maybe they're prepping things to come in the future, or it's possible it just means nothing. Maybe we're overreading this.
But you know the thing is, the moment he was actually promoted to the level of CEO, he made a comment in one of these interviews where he said that given that the history of Nintendo has always had upgrades, throughout its, for the portable
Life cycle.
consoles,
Yeah.
for its life cycle, he's like, he's open to the idea, or he knows that people would be open to the idea of buying an upgrade some way through. So he made that comment when he was put into place of CEO. So I know from the very beginning they're going to be making changes. They already did that with the Switch Lite. It's a given that they might do it with the Switch. Like, there's been a rumored Switch Pro for a long time. Apparently, the SKUs that were leaked with this Switch, there's basically a non-portable version, so a fixed Switch, sort of like the PS TV. That's part of the SKUs that are listed or at least described inside the update. And then there's also a version with 2 screens. So whether or not that would mean that there's some kind of screen attachment to the existing consoles going forward, I don't know. But it would be, to me personally, it would be impractical to provide a screen attachment, only because of the battery life. If you're going to power 2 screens, a launch console which has about 2 hours battery life on Breath of the Wild, I mean, that'll half that. You're going to have 50 minutes to 60 minutes of battery life. But if they do it like they did with the Surface Book, where the screen has a battery and the keyboard has a battery, then maybe that would make a bit more sense. But that'll make the unit a lot heavier too. So
It's interesting because historically, up until Nintendo Switch, Nintendo's always had two product lines, like home and portable. So, and they usually coincide, like the releases would coincide. Like with Super Nintendo, you had Game Boy, and then with Nintendo 64, you had Game Boy Color, or like an update to it, and then you had Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Light, and then you had Game Boy Advance, and then after Game Boy Advance with the GameCube, you had Game Boy Advance SP, and then after that you had Nintendo DS, then you had DS Lite, DSi, and then we moved into 3DS, and then after 3DS, what did we have? We had 3DS XL, then we had new 3DS, then new 3DS XL, and now
2DS.
For the first time ever, we have 2DS, 2DS XL, new 2DS XL. And now we have the Nintendo Switch, where these two lines have finally converged. And yeah, like Vince said, we have the Switch Lite, which is kind of like an even more portable, I think it's safe to say, 3DS successor. But Nintendo also probably wants to corner their, I guess, more serious gaming market, which is, probably YouTubers, content creators, streamers, speedrunners, tassers, all these different groups of gamers that are not looking for a Switch Lite. They're looking for something more hardcore. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. In fact, I think if Nintendo wants to stay relevant with PS5 and Xbox Series X coming out at the end of this year, they're going to need something new. Obviously, it's the software that everybody loves about Nintendo. All the different, Mario games and games that you can only get on Nintendo platforms. But, 4K is becoming pretty standard these days, and Nintendo Switch's chip is now over 3 years old, so it's definitely not obsolete, but without a refresh, Nintendo is starting to border.
Well, before that,
what's happening.
Before that, right? That chipset is actually 3 years older. So that was the original NVIDIA Shield chipset, the Tegra 1, which came out I think in 2012 or 2013. So when it launched, it was an older chipset still. However, so this is the funny thing about this whole process, right? I don't believe they would move to a dual screen model because it would be impractical. If there are games that are going to run on a dual screen, how are you going to do that on a television? They did that with the Wii U. It failed, right?
Now, they'd have to go retroactively. You can't have a Switch with dual screens that only plays dual screen games from now on. As much as I loved the 3DS family, dual screen is actually, in my perfect world, I would want dual screen again. But you can't dual screen Breath of the Wild as it's already been developed. You can't go back and dual screen Super Mario Odyssey.
It's not even that.
It's dual screen Fire Emblem Three Houses. These games are already out, so the precedent has already been set for one screen.
It's the practicality.
Now, whatever comes after Switch, who knows?
It's also just the practicality of it, right? If you're going to make games that are dual screen, that would mean that when you put it on docked mode, you're going to have to look at the Switch screen like you were with the Wii U. And
which was a complete failure.
Dude, they experimented with that with Star Fox, and that was bad. That was one of the worst.
That's what I was just going to say. I had Star Fox Zero. I couldn't have been more excited. It was my first Star Fox game since Star Fox 64, which I had as a kid. And I think, the day it came out, Vince, I came to your house, and we played Star Fox Zero together, and you told me to play it first, and I was just...
Dude, it gave me
I was
a headache.
over the moon. I couldn't explain how emotional I felt to be getting back into this series that I hadn't played since the late 90s. But unfortunately, it was just one of those games where you couldn't look at the TV alone or look at the Wii U gamepad alone. You had to keep looking up and down, which just made for a tiring and dizzying and sore neck experience.
Dude, it just gave me a headache. Even playing it with you, where we were able to play it separately, right? I mean, that's great, but it just gave me a headache even just doing that. They did that with Rainbow Curse, with Kirby Rainbow Curse.
Kirby, yeah.
Again, that was bad.
That one.
That was bad, So
I enjoyed it because I played as Waddle Dee, so I got to play normally. You had to keep doing that.
Dude, it gave me the biggest headache, man. It wasn't easy to do, so I don't see them going back to that. What I can see them do is honestly making a fixed model, so a non-portable version of the Switch, which doesn't have a screen on it, because it's all about reducing costs, right? If you take out the screen,
but I wouldn't want to buy a non-portable Switch.
Dude,
for me,
I
play more.
If they put in a Tegra X2 chip or one of the later Tegra chips into it, right, and it's able to actually play at high definition with proper, Dolby 5.1 or even if they, I doubt this will happen, but if they can get DTX, or True Audio into it, that'll be great. But
How would that even look though, Vince? Like if you work for Nintendo and you're gonna design a dual screen Switch like system, how do you do it? Is it gonna be like a flip?
No. I don't believe. I don't believe they're gonna do a dual screen. Only like what they could do possibly is release a screen for the Switch. So I mean, again, I don't see the practicality of that. Maybe,
but that wouldn't work in docked mode.
No, look, you know what? They've been talking for a long time about creating a game where, dude, what's going on? How come I can't do anything?
You have to use overdrive. I think you have to press left. Try pressing left on attack or right.
Thanks. Yeah. So look, with the
There you go. Dragon Fang Bushido.
Well, that didn't work. That was an absolute.
Go Vince. Oh yeah, well done.
That was an absolute failure. Still, whatever.
Nice work.
Yeah, look. In terms of a dual screen, I don't see it happening because it's really costly, right? You're gonna double. You're gonna at least add about 50% of cost to the Nintendo Switch by adding a second screen.
And choose more battery as well.
Yeah.
Lighting up a screen is one of the biggest battery hogs.
Or even if they add a battery to that screen, again, that's going to be an additional cost, right? So I don't see that happening. They're not going to jack up the cost of the Switch. If they make a fixed Switch and they take out the screen and take out the Joy-Cons, all you have is an upgraded CPU, a better cooling system for the unit, maybe a better sound system for the unit as well. I can see that happening. And you know the thing is, because the Switch in itself is it doesn't have a disk drive, right? The things that make consoles big right now are two things: cooling and disk drives. Yeah.
That's true. Disk drives, you physically can't reduce the size.
You can't reduce the size, yeah, but also the cooling factor. Like you got to make sure that the console runs cool enough. Now,
right.
A Tegra chip is a portable chip, so it does run cooler than what you would see a desktop chip.
Less power consumption.
Yeah, less power consumption, so it could still work. But you would have a small form factor for a Nintendo Switch. I'm all up for that, man. I think that'll be great, you know? If it's more powerful, if it's smaller, portable enough that you can take to your friend's house and they can plug it into their TV, that's great. You know?
Yeah.
Only thing is, they've got to change the way in which they've got to change the way in which the movement of save games, or at least how the save games work, they've got to make that a little bit more streamlined. You know, like I don't want to have to keep moving my save games between consoles, especially if you can't transfer like Splatoon or Animal Crossing. Like it's going to be a hassle.
Yeah, I don't want. This is definitely not like a rant session here, but I'm hoping Nintendo will do something about save games. As you know, Vince, like the only game I really play online is Splatoon 2, and as you know, it doesn't support cloud saves. I do understand that some people may try to take advantage of that to cheat, to re-roll for certain kind of events and skills and stuff like that, but the majority of people just don't want to lose the hundreds of hours of effort they've put into the game. And the fact that the only way you can save your data for Splatoon is from a transfer, which means you have to have two switches right next to each other. Yeah. There's no ability to do a cloud save. Nintendo does not give you the option to do a manual save backup. At least with Apple, if you don't want to pay for iCloud storage, there is still an option to do an iTunes backup where you can back up all your data onto your computer via iTunes. But Nintendo doesn't even give you that option, so it's either pay us, which actually doesn't even work either because it won't save it. So basically, they're just telling you, suck it up. There's nothing you can do. If your Switch, excuse my language, shits itself and goes down, you've lost everything.
It just doesn't make sense. Like the business model, in my opinion, is shit. Like I don't get why they have to wait and limit the amount of times in which you can transfer a save for Animal Crossing. It's just Animal Crossing. Like it's not that much of a big deal,
Yeah.
At least give us the opportunity to transfer the save or to back up the save, because that's the kind of game where if you lose your progress, I don't know if I'd want to start again.
Yeah, start over. Just sell the game.
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable just selling the game if that's the case.
How does it work? Because at the moment, Nintendo Switch is the only console I really own. How do saves work on Xbox and Sony ecosystem?
You can back them up to a USB disk, or you can upload them to the cloud.
Well, there you go. I bet you that makes sense. When I had a PS3, I do remember something about like uploading saves, something like that. And hopefully Nintendo will, eventually learn from the rest of the industry, because save data is very, very little. Like when I've looked at the amount of space save data takes, a very, very big file might be 100, 200 megabytes, which is nothing. Like some games, 20 megabytes, 30 megabytes. Like, you take like 5-6 photos on your iPhone, and that's already a bigger file size than save states. So just being able to back those up wouldn't really take up much storage on Nintendo servers. Or just give us the option to, store it on my laptop, store it on a USB stick. If my Switch dies and I have to buy a new one, I don't have to worry about starting everything over, which might even put me off playing the games again.
And then that's what I mean, right? Like, it does put you off playing the game again, because I wouldn't want to start. Look, I mean, I'm a fair way through Animal Crossing. I've probably spent 20 hours on it so far. I don't want to do 20 hours again where I have to make a new village and start the same quest over and over again. Like, it's just, and there's a lot of items in that game, that you can't get back in the next playthrough. Like, it might, like the Easter thing just finished up. You're not going to be able to get all the Easter stuff that was available during that period back again. So what's the point?
Yeah. Well, like, here's hoping. We're both very happy to have Nintendo Switches, and the games have been phenomenal. Final Fantasy X, just one example right here. Looks like Titus and Arn have just finished battling part of Sin Spawn, and that looks like a really, really bad hurricane about to hit, or whatever it is. Looks like a spaceship.
Guys, we're running out of time. Just FYI, we're going to be playing Final Fantasy X-2 next after this. We'll upload that video in a couple of days. After that, we're going to hit up Final Fantasy 12, and from then on, we're going to hit 13 on the Xbox One X. So that's going to be interesting, since there's 3 games and it's practically considered a remake at this point already. Or sorry, a HD remake.
Yeah. So guys, if you enjoyed this video and you're thinking about playing Final Fantasy X, you never have before, I'd highly recommend you pick it up. You can get 10 and 10-2 together on the Nintendo eShop, or if you're going to go for a physical version, you can buy your local version, or if you're looking to spend a little bit more and get both games physically, I'd recommend you buy the Japanese version. But thank you for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Ciao for now, guys. Thank you.